And I also represent you as a board rep from Engineers Canada for the Canadian Accreditation Board. So my side of it, where I look at it, here's two things I want you to think about in this election. Okay, and it's critical that you do that. We have a lot of candidates this year. It's very nice to see that for a change because there's such apathy among PEO and specifically in voting. I'd like to see us push the ceiling beyond 10% this year, and I'd like to make sure everybody votes. One thing I want you to think about that is critical to me and my campaign and my experience in the last 3.5 years on the board is two things. One is that I'm very concerned about our governance, and PEO governance really needs an overhaul. But one of the things I want you to think about in looking at somebody that's going to be, or in my position, President-elect, will be eventually the chair of the board. I want you to be very cognizant of the fact that we look at good governance principles with respect to that. And to me, one major part of that is succession planning. And although my fellow candidates are in their own ways, equally well experienced, the concern I have is that parachuting somebody into the role of president without any experience on the board or frankly very little experience with PEO as a whole concerns me. And what we want to do is make sure that we have a fluid transition from president to president. From Thomas Chong, George Comrie, Bob.
Hi, thanks everyone. I want to congratulate the executive for all the great work that you did in 2016, and I love this idea of your souvenir document. I think it's a great way to keep a record of the great work that's been done here in the chapter. Congratulations to the new executive members who've been elected, and we look forward to great things from you in 2017. My name is Darla Campbell, and I am running for President-elect of PEO Council. And why am I running for that position, you might ask yourself? And if you're not asking yourself, perhaps you should be asking that question. I'm running to give you choice. I think it's important that you deserve to have highly qualified candidates seeking these important leadership positions in PEO, and I offer some great experience for you to consider. There's a sign, and it's also great that we have lots of candidates running in this election. I want to thank all of the candidates who put their names forward. It's a sign of a healthy organization to have such great volunteers seeking these leadership positions. Based on my 6 years of participating in the Government Liaison Committee for PEO and the chair for the last 2 years, you might say I've had my finger on the pulse of PEO as we've been tracking the regulatory issues, tracking the industrial exception, and tracking the other issues that are of importance to PEO. As the chair of PEO's Government Liaison Committee, I've been supporting chapters and their Take Your MPP to Work projects. I've been working with a great team on my committee, and my committee includes people from all our partner organizations. So I have a representative from OSPI, I have a representative from Engineers Canada, I have a student representative, and I have a representative from CEO, so Consulting Engineers of Ontario. So I already know how to work together with our major partners. And we delivered a successful joint conference on the 26th of October, and there's a great article in Engineering Dimensions, so I draw your attention to the great work that we're doing in government relations. What do I bring to PEO? I bring a whole new perspective, and I look forward to your vote and your support in this very important election. My name is Darla Campbell, and we are building the future together.
Your name right on time. Perfect. Thank you. Next we have Peter DeVita.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here at Scarborough chapter. I've been interacting with you for over 10 years, so this is a good thing. PEO's $25 million operation with 110 staff. Do all engineering disciplines get equal treatment? Is PEO relevant? Less than 30% of PEO members need their PEng to do their work. 60% of engineering graduates in the last 10 years have not been able to find engineering jobs. We are devastating our youth with high debt and no careers. 1 out of 10 with engineering credentials in Ontario do not do engineering. We continue towards irrelevancy. The profession is failing in its primary mandate to license all practices of engineering. We need major change, but not the old way. We need to empower PEO members by discipline to deal with the issues arising in all engineering fields. This is the basis of self-regulation. These give us the grassroots. I note that my view is in stark contrast to my opponent, who voted against holding a referendum, against the members. Government's proposals, revising old initiatives for term limits and succession planning, is only tinkering. Painting an old rusty car is not good enough. PEO needs a new bus. In contrast to my opponents, I offer a wealth of experience and a solid track record bringing positive change to the profession. See the back of my flyer. My friends, experience matters. Now is not the time to take chances with inexperience and narrow visions. Now is the time to put your trust in someone who will deliver positive change. With your support, we can empower PEO members to bring us back to relevancy. Trust in the voice of experience. Vote Peter DeVita for President-elect. Thank you.
My name is Faizul Mohi, and I'm running for the President-elect. And who I am, I finished my PhD from University of Waterloo, and I did my Masters in University of Toronto. And I'm currently working in terrestrial energy in Oakville as the lead structural engineer in the nuclear plant project. And I have around 10 years of engineering work experience in Ontario, Quebec, and US. And other than that, I have been volunteering in PEO for the last 5 years. I'm currently an executive of the PEO Toronto Humber chapter, and I also volunteered for PEO West Toronto chapter for the last 5 years. And I also won the OSP's Young Professional Engineer Award in 2014. And my platform, I am strongly against the new or like planned mandatory and paid CPT program or the PEAK program. I trust that as a licensed professionals, we can take responsibility of our own professional development. We should not need to pay more money, or we should not be obliged to pay more mandatory CPT. We can take our own responsibility. For example, I did my master's, I did my PhD. I don't really feel like after spending 12 years in school, I don't really feel like taking more course for CPT. The other thing is engineering is my primary occupation. So I think it's hard to say, like someone who is actually practicing engineer should be should be the president of PEO, in my opinion. And I'm also running for diversity and inclusivity. And I'm also running for change and modernization of PEO. And finally, I lived in Scarborough actually for a couple of years in 2008 to 2010. So I lived in this area. And I'm running one time, so I hope you'll give me opportunity to just vote for me one time. I'm not running again and again. So hopefully we can work together. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think so. Is it on? It's not on. Okay. Okay, technology. I can handle this. Okay. Thank you very much. I'd really like to thank Scarborough Chapter for inviting all of us and really taking such an active approach to the election. I think that that's really important, particularly with our struggle with getting more people out to vote. I commend you for that initiative. As well, I think your focus on the future and your outreach to the grades 3 to 13 is excellent in terms of what we're going to do in the future. And I think that that's one of the issues that PEO has, and it's one of the issues that I've been working on. 2 years ago at our AGM, I brought a motion with regard to term limits, which is something I feel very strongly about. I think it's important that we not only welcome new ideas, but that we're actually seen to welcome new ideas, and that we put in place structures that make it clear that we want new people to run and
No, that's fine. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Scarborough Chapter, for inviting me for this event today. As many of you know me, and I know you, I have been East Central Region Councillor for past 4 years or 3.5 years, and I can tell you that I have shared the success of the Scarborough chapter with the Scarborough chapter, attending many of the events of the Scarborough chapter, and I'm very proud of that. And Scarborough chapter is one of the most active chapters within the region. As you know, I have delivered accountability, transparency, and respect to the chapters, to the members, and the example is the chapter allotment distribution. Within past 3 years and 4 years or 3.5 years that I have been on, comparing to time prior to that, which we had kind of secrecy, there was no transparency for chapter allotment. Now you are involved, you know what's going on, you know what's going on with other chapters. And also I have taken many initiatives from Scarborough chapter to PEO, which is now approved for the entire chapter, all chapters and entire PEO, such as volunteer service PIN, which came from Scarborough chapter and I took it. So I'm going to continue on accountability, transparency, and respect, and now is the time to move on. Please visit my website, sadr.ca, and vote for me. Thank you.
Members, delegates, guests, I was given a second 2-year mandate as a Western Region Councillor and have been actively involved in 4 committees since getting on the Council. However, I support the concept of term limits, and that's why I'm now seeking a position as Councillor at Large. I'm here today because I would like to continue to serve the Association and further pursue a number of initiatives that are contained in Council's strategic plan. Increasing the value of the engineering license is but one of the goals. The way to do this is to ensure that only licensed engineers are doing or supervising engineering work. And there are several fronts on which to achieve this and which I advocate that Council pursue. The first is to engage the Government Liaison Program, which is already well-rooted in most chapters, and the cooperation of other regulators in the province to seek whistleblower protection legislation, which will protect both employees and employers. This needs to be across-the-board legislation. Second, to continue to press the provincial government for follow-through on the repeal of the industrial exception using safety data which we've collected and which we are still collecting from various sources to make our case. Third, proceeding with the public information campaign to inform the public of the necessity of a license in a way that demonstrates how this protects the public from harm. And fourth, I'm chair of the Legislation Committee. I know firsthand of many acts and regulations which prescribe qualified persons. This committee has cited a number of ambiguities and even some wording which conflicts with our own Professional Engineers Act. We need to work through Council and with the Attorney General's Office to seek to correct these and possibly encourage more demand-side legislation to strengthen our license. These measures coupled with aid from enforcement of our own act, and thus they can strengthen the license. And where possible, we can complement the work of OSPI, which has similar interests to ours. I hope that I provided some insight to what I would promote if elected as a councillor at large, and I thank you for listening. Good night.
Okay, I'm not going to use the microphone. Hi, as Murad said, my name is Lisa McCumber. I'm currently running for councillor at large. I'd like to thank the Scarborough chapter for inviting all of us to attend and to promote voting in the council elections. So I've graduated from chemical engineering. I currently work as a senior engineer at the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change, and I work on technical requirements to write regulations. And part of what you all was talking about with the demand side legislation, I recently just finished a regulation for air emissions that only allows professional engineers to complete the requirements that are required under this regulation, and to verify that the contaminants that people are emitting from their factories, etc., are in compliance with the requirements. So I agree with the demand side legislation, and I really think that only engineers should be doing engineering work, and the PEO needs to do a better job of enforcing these principles. I also would like to say that I used to I'm a volunteer with PEO and OSPI for the last 8 years. I was chair of the Mississauga chapter. I'm currently past chair in the Mississauga chapter. I've been on OSPI's WEAC committee for a long time. And I think the chapters are the lifeblood of PEO, and we can help further our mandate working better with the chapters. And I would also like to ask that everybody take a few minutes to vote. It only takes a couple of minutes, and I really think we need to get some more diversity on council. So again, please vote in the elections. Thanks.
The chapter chair of the GLP, Government Liaison Program. I graduated from University of Waterloo 2003, master's degree, and since then I've been volunteer work. I've done a lot of volunteer work. I run my own business, but why am I here? So I'm trying to be a candidate for you. It's the most reason. I'm not here to, I don't know, you may think, I'm not going to improve this or improve that, or I'm not here to give you a choice or gain popularity or things like that. I'm just simply concerned. I see there are a lot of things wrong. For example, you know who the councillor at large is? Where are these councillors? You elected some councillors last year. Did they try to reach you? Did they try to talk to you? Do you know what they're doing? They just come here on the election day and then after disappear. And there is no way you can find them, they reach you, they talk to you. So something is wrong. I see these problems, see this deficiency. There are a lot more happening behind the scene you don't see. For example, PEO is collecting $25 million membership fees. What have they done except acting like a government agency or just policing members? They tried an industrial exception with all this power they have, with all these councillors, budget, 80,000 members supporting them. They did nothing, nothing at all. And even they couldn't prevent it. So it seems something wrong behind the scene. So I believe the whole association lost its vision. And it's acting and working based on the old business model, something that was established half a century ago. And unfortunately, I disagree with that. I'm concerned. I'm here to fix it with you, with your help. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone, Scarborough chapter is one of my most favorite chapter, and I've been very supportive of your chapter. I'm a grassroots candidate, a chapter person, and with extensive experience in chapters, committee, and council. PEO is at a crossroads. In times of great degeneration, with members' apathy, government incursion, and the disengagement of the next generation of engineers. Many of you have lost your voice, your job, and your right to practice. I am your voice. I have the passion, leadership, and experience to effect positive and real changes. We can work together to, 1, raise the value and the relevance of the PNF license. 30% of engineering work is done by unlicensed engineers. Not acceptable. We must fight for the right to practice and strengthen enforcement to ensure that engineering work must be done by professional engineers. 2, no membership fee increase. No wasteful spending. Real change to increase the value for money of our members' hard-earned dollars. 3, respect the members. Consult the chapters and members on major policy changes, including the cost and bureaucracy of the Mandatory Professional Development, CPD. Members should have the final say in a binding referendum. 4, it is time for leadership. PEO should advance itself as a modern regulator to increase the public trust and embrace diversity, ensure adequate funding for chapter for healthy growth. 5, champion partnership. Work with OSPI and Engineers Canada to improve our profession. Be engaged, have your say to shape the future of PEO. Together, we can make PEO greater than ever. So vote for Thomas Chong, the stronger voice for the chapters, members, and the profession. Thank you.
and I'm running for East Central Council. Scarborough chapter always done a great job for introducing candidates to the membership, and I would like to thank them for that. I'm going to start by saying that I'm not standing before you as a candidate. I'm standing before you as another engineer who's concerned. I am concerned that our profession is losing its value. You ask people, and you ask industry that, why don't you hire an engineer? And they say, well, why should I do that? There's no need to. The problem is that, in my opinion, PEO is not proactive, it's reactive. There is not enough enforcement. And the problem is so deeply rooted that if I ask some engineers that, why don't you get your license? They say, I don't need my license to do this job. But I challenge you, ask any physician that if another physician wants to practice, do they need their license? They're gonna say, hell yeah. If they find out somebody's practicing without a license, they're gonna report them. This is not so for our profession. The other thing is that I believe PEO is like a tree, and the chapters are the root of the tree. The stronger the root, the stronger the tree. So we have to help our chapter to grow and become strong so we can have a stronger voice in public. Thank you. Please vote for me, Peter Cushman for East Central.
Thanks very much for inviting me down to the Balsa Wood Glider competition. That was great. Kids had a lot of fun, and that's actually one of the key areas where you start getting that motivation for youngsters to start following this path to be an engineer. A lot of good points here from all the candidates that have spoken tonight. Right up front, I will tell you that one of the things I'm in favor of, as Nancy mentioned, are term limits for elected positions. David brought up an excellent 2 points. Number one, governance. Number two is succession planning, that we have people consistently moving through that are actively engaged with PEO itself. There are some issues to be dealt with at council, but more importantly, as your East Central regional councillor, it is my responsibility, or that individual's responsibility, to be representing you at the council meeting and communicating your concerns and your wants and needs to council so that they can reach rational decisions and make things progressively move forward, not going in with my own personal agenda. And even though I said there are things that I'm in favor of, however, it is what the majority want. I believe in rational spending, and I'm fully concerned about re-engaging many of the engineering population in Ontario. I think that is one area that we are lacking in right now. But most importantly, as David had said, get out and vote. Thank you.
Briefly and quickly, tell me what you're going to do with enforcement.
What are you going to do with enforcement? Well, short answer is this. Here's the truth of the matter is, with the budget where it is, there's a lot of programs we could lose, and council struggles with that, trying to get programs to lose. 28 people around the table, hard to get them going one way. It's very hard to lead those horses to water. Enforcement, what we don't want to do there is looking at it, unfortunately, you either have to lose something in the budget to have money for more enforcement, or you have to raise your fees. But I do agree with you that enforcement is an issue.
Okay, anybody else would like to ask that question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, enforcement is critical. In fact, I was the person who brought in the enforcement committee in order for us to take a strategic view of enforcement. Enforcement is stopping non-engineers from doing engineering. That's our biggest problem. We need to do that. When I was president in 2001, I proposed a budget increase of tenfold for the enforcement committee, but they weren't able to handle it. And so we've been sort of going along little by little. If anything, members would be glad to spend more money to stop non-engineers from doing engineering. And so that's where we need to put our effort.
Thank you. You're good? No, I'm just going to finish. Okay. Next question. Yep.
So does PEO currently have the auditing of all engineering works or jobs or departments in the company in Ontario?
You mean going out and investigating?
No. I mean to say, since company registered in whatsoever, they have engineering department, engineering section, does PEO have those engineering information in their database? And confirming that those people working in the engineering department are licensed? And I think there's not.
Well, basically, my company has a C of A, and that allows us, I'm the engineer, there's 2 engineers in my company with the C of A listed, but we can have a number of engineers working in the company that aren't listed on that C of A, that we hold responsibility for that engineering through them.
No, but what my question is, does PEO has the database for all companies opening engineering works, engineering section?
You cannot offer engineering work as a company in Ontario unless you have a C of A.
The company where I work, they have engineering, but
Are they doing engineering for the public outside themselves?
that's a very big question. What is engineering? That's another definition.
If you're doing engineering for somebody outside of the company, you must have a C of A to operate in Ontario.
If you are doing engineering, you are simply engineering.
Sorry, I'll just answer your question because recently somebody, I opened an engineering firm. As soon as you put the word engineer and register your corporate, there is a PN, licensed PN behind that engineering company.
Yes.
Sorry, is that good?
That's correct, absolutely.
Sorry, you had a question?
No, I was going to answer him. Any company using the name engineering, it has to have CFA. That's one. So that's how very important. Nobody can do engineering without having CFA in progress of Ontario.
Okay, so we're over our time for the Vice President or President-elect, but I'll ask one last question. And guys, try and no more discussion because we want to move this along.
I just wanted to hear the other candidates answer for the question.
I think enforcement is a very important issue, but I think PEO has other issues to deal with. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry. So I would just say that enforcement is one of the main responsibilities of PEO. It's part of protecting the PN brand in Ontario, and if we're not doing a good job at that, we need to do a better job at that. Part of the way that you can help to do that is through issuing complaints to identify issues that PEO needs to take a look at. There's a process to do that. I encourage you to draw the attention to PEO and what they should be paying attention to. And to answer your question, there is not a database.
Yes,
so
that's what I'm thinking. There's no database.
There's not a database.
So therefore, how can you do enforcement?
Do you have any idea of putting up any idea saying what is the time frame of getting this certification or PN for any new candidate? Time frame 1 year, 6 months or plus. So right now we don't have any time frame. We just finish our EAT.
You mean time frame to get a license?
Yeah. So there's no standard.
So how long it takes to process and that kind of thing? No, I don't know. I know that they've been working on continuous improvement.
Yeah, there's like 8 years since the starting from the licensing until we finish. You have 8 years that you have to finish all the processing. It's like for to take the exams, to finish the AIT, to finish the 12 months of experience and everything. That's what we taught from the PEO actually.
Yeah, there is no.
Bringing up this time frame saying that after 4 years of EAT, I apply for my PN. So the process will be done in 6 months so that you get a PN. Or it will be a 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah, there is no standard time because it depends on the file, a specific file, the credentials that applicants have, and exams and interviews and other stuff that they may have. But one of the goals that you can see on my website, I have mentioned, make changes to the PE Act to create more flexibility in licensing matters. And that is specifically and exactly what you mentioned. We need to improve the way that we have the process of licensing to shorten the time frame as much as it's possible. But there is no standard time frame, but there is a mechanism on its way to keep track of the timing for all the applicants.
I think it's an operational thing that we need to, and council should be monitoring that in terms of getting the information. And I'm not sure if they're doing it now, but it's something that we can and should be doing.
Okay. I can actually give you a real example, sorry guys. I know I work for Bell and I have a lot of EITs who work under me. And for the last year, 2 or 3 of the EITs, I know they've been getting their PN just within 6 to 8 months of application. So that's what I've noticed. And again, this is recent. I know we have somebody here as well who I sponsored, and it was 6 to 8 months is what I've noticed from the time you apply to the time you get your PN. And that's if you have everything according to what the PEO is looking for.
And is that if you're already registered as an EIT?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
They're all registered.
So I think there's an advantage too to register as an EIT early.
Yeah.
So you're in the process and you're getting feedback as you go through, so that when you finish that 4 years, you're ready to go.
And again, that's from my personal experience from the candidates I sponsored or I oversaw their work. So. Any more questions? Okay. All right, we'll give this gentleman a chance.
So, as we all know, Ontario, especially Toronto, is a place. Most of the immigrants come here, and especially engineers after coming here for the first few years, it's very difficult. They don't know how to get PNs. Even if they go for interview, most of the time they're kicked out. They lose their interest in driving taxi, delivering pizza. So, do you have any a plan how to make it inform them how to get involved in getting their license, or
Are you referring to the Canadian experience specifically for the foreign trained engineers?
Not only experience, including their education. Most of the first barrier is getting the engineering education, what is that called? The educational thing at the beginning that needs to be clear. After that, they can go for the ethics exam. But first thing, when they are asked for the interview, they go to the interview. Most of the time, they don't know what to talk about. When they go there, they cannot properly explain according to the engineering theory. Needs to be
Engineering jobs in general, you want to?
Well, I know that OSPI does a fair bit of work in terms of trying to connect people up with jobs. They also have educational programs. For a number of years, I was involved with a program that was a ethics, law and ethics. So they have ones to help prep you for the law and ethics exam, but it was actually a program for before that to help foreign trained engineers to understand actually the culture and to help them understand some of the, not just the Professional Engineers Act, but other acts too that they would come across. So there are programs out there available, but I think, as other candidates have said, there's an ongoing problem in terms of enforcing engineering jobs and getting engineering jobs. So there are a lot of things out there, but I think you have to work a little bit at finding them. But the program, I taught it for a while, and I thought it was an excellent program. We had a lot of good feedback. That's all I can say.
So,
if I can answer, yeah. See, the main issue for not having a proper job for engineering is the value of engineering in Ontario. That value is not where it should be. And I have been speaking about this, raising the value of engineering and public awareness in Ontario and in Canada in general, Ontario specifically, for years. Even if you go back to Engineering Dimension 2010, I wrote an article for Engineering Dimension about public awareness. And one of the goals that you can see on my profile, better promote our profession and raise the value of engineering through public awareness, and further create the trust that is associated with Professional Engineers Ontario. That trust does not exist today. And one of the things that you can increase that trust is the matter of enforcement, which was mentioned over and over. So having a strong enforcement and raising the value of and profile of engineering and public awareness are the two tools that we can use to create more jobs, more values for engineers.
Yeah. So one last question.
Last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're speaking Engineers Ontario, okay? Engineers, yeah. Who controls Canada? Federal corporations for the engineers.
So your license is provincial as opposed to federal? So-
Our license is provincial.
Yes.
But who controls now? We are working in a federal corporation. Who controls?
You
the
need to
federal?
have license in different provinces,
No,
whatever
no.
provinces that you are involved
You
in.
see, the company where I'm working is a federal company.
Okay.
It actually gets back to the Constitution.
What
And it's
is-
divided up in the British North America Act